Hey Eagles fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome into the Eagles Report, and today, let's take a look at 5 potential wide receiver free agent targets, the 5 most likely wide receivers the Eagles can sign in free agency to bolster that offense and help out Carson Wentz. We know he needs it. Before we start, red subscribe button down below. We're the fastest growing Eagles channel, trying to get to 3,000 subs here in a matter of months. Click that. Also, thumbs up. Brand new graphics on the channel. They look fantastic, don't they? Thumbs up for that. And finally, there's a link in the description, a link popping up somewhere above me right now for our Patreon page. We just started trying to get some funds to upgrade the microphone. Most of you guys have cut the cord on your cable TV for less than a cup of coffee a month. You can support the Eagles channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. Go and check that out. The link is in the description box down below. Although right now, though, let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, so before we start off with the 5 big names the Eagles should target in free agency at the wide receiver spot, let's just go ahead and break down the money-wise. We did this a couple of days ago, but I wanted to look at it one more time. $46+ million in cap space. They have 10 draft picks, and as far as wide receivers, you are likely to lose Nelson Agholor and Alshon Jeffery. Jeffery, you could trade him after he clears his physical, and Agholor is going to be a free agent, meaning your available depth chart, we'll throw that on the screen right now. If Jeffery stays, is Jeffery, DeSean Jackson, Greg Ward, and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Those are your only wide receivers under contract in 2020, which means, as we all know, the Eagles need to go out and sign somebody right now, or at least once we get to the new league year after March in free agency. They've got to go get a wide receiver. So let's go ahead and jump into the 5 most likely names I think the Eagles should be targeting, starting with the one we all thought they were going to get at the trade deadline this past year, the Jets wide receiver Robbie Anderson, 27 years old, an undrafted free agent back in 2016, who has really emerged as the best target the Jets have had and one of the better wide receivers in the National Football League. Big target, 6'3", very Alshon Jeffery-like, but he has a lot more speed than Jeffery. And again, he was one who was rumored to go to Philadelphia at the trade deadline, which the Eagles, inquired about with the Jets. It would have cost a 2nd or 3rd round pick. They decided not to make that trade. And now here we are. By not making the trade, they can now go sign him in free agency at a discounted price in terms of not having to give up trade assets. 3 games over 100 yards this season. He had some problems with drops, but his stats overall pretty darn good. 779 yards, 5 touchdowns, 52 catches in 2019. Remember, Sam Darnold did not play the entire season. He was out with the mono sickness, and so he didn't play for a number of those games. So you think his numbers could have been up a little bit higher. He probably would have been a 1,000-yard receiver and would have had at least 7 touchdowns, maybe 60, maybe even 70 catches if Darnold had played more of the season. Anderson is a very likely target. I think he should be the number 1 wide receiver target the Eagles should go after in terms of money-wise, fit-wise, scheme-wise, age, everything is combined for Robbie Anderson. He's actually my number 1 target here on this list. Everyone else I still would like to have, but if I could pick any one of the 5, it's got to be Robbie Anderson. Move on. Danny Amendola. Now here's the opposite of Robbie Anderson. You're not a young 26-year-old guy. How about a 34-year-old who has been a lot of places and has played a lot of football? Remember, he was a Patriot. He won a Super Bowl there with New England. He was a Dolphin. He was a Lion most recently. He's a free agent now, but you could get a guy who catches the football at a very great rate, a great catch percentage. Has caught 62 passes this year, 678 yards, and would cost probably less than $6 million, probably about $5 million overall. His contract with Detroit this year was $5 million. Yes, he's old, but he'd be a great possession receiver to mix in there. Think about Golden Tate, just with a little more experience. Remember, Golden Tate was injured for majority of his year in Philadelphia, but whenever he was healthy, him and Nick Foles had a great pedigree, a great repertoire together, and they liked the connection there. Obviously, you remember the Chicago Bears game whenever he had to cut the touchdown pass and then the 2-point conversion. So overall, I like the idea of Danny Amendola, much like Robbie Anderson. 3 games over 100 yards in 2019. An older target, but a cheaper target, and could be an additional signing to a guy like Robbie Anderson to bolster the wide receiver core for Philadelphia. Moving on, a name that not many people are going to recognize or really have seen a lot of film on is Rashad Perryman, the wide receiver down in Tampa Bay. 26 years old, signed by the Bucs this offseason, and even on a squad with Terry Godwin and Mike Evans, still caught 645 yards worth of passes, 36 catches, and 6 touchdowns. Career highs in all categories. He has great size, 6'2". He has great speed, and came on at the end of the season, 3 catches for over 100 yards in his final 3 games. Again, playing with Mike Evans and playing with Chris Godwin, who had incredible seasons with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, both over 1,000 yards. So this is a guy you could get for cheap, probably $7, $8, $9 million at most. and would come in and potentially outperform his numbers from last year because he's not going to be playing alongside superstar wide receivers like Godwin and Evans. Godwin last year, remember, you think superstar, he was unbelievable, had a multiple 100-yard games in terms of big-time fantasy games as well. I had him on my fantasy team. So I like the idea of Perryman. He could be an under-the-radar signing that Eagle fans go, wait, why did we get this guy? And then they go, oh, because he actually was really good. He was just a number 3 option on a Bucs team that had Jameis Winston throwing picks, and then Mike Evans and Godwin catching the majority of the passes. Moving on, Emmanuel Sanders. How about him? 33 years old, traded from Denver to San Francisco this offseason, and it's been iffy for San Francisco. Okay, his numbers are good. 869 yards, 66 catches, and 5 touchdowns. The problem is, though, he's been a little inconsistent. He'll have a game with San Francisco this year where he'll catch 11 balls for 120 yards, and then he has had multiple games, 3 catches for 15 yards, 4 catches for 30 yards. He's been a little too inconsistent, which means San Francisco might let him walk at the end of this offseason once they finished up with the Super Bowl coming up here in a couple of days, because they have an emerging young wide receiver in Deebo Samuel, and they had Jalen Hurd, who was a Baylor wide receiver, did not play this season with a back injury, but he's basically like having another free wide receiver come in his second year up there in San Francisco. So if Emmanuel Sanders is let go and is actually a free agent, he could be a target for Philadelphia. He's looking for at least $10 million a year, but maybe you walk him down because he's not been that effective with San Francisco so far this season, at least later on this year. He's not my favorite target on this list, but again, Philadelphia might need to get somebody in the draft to play wide receiver, but I think you've got to sign at least one free agent wide receiver at the same time. And if Anderson goes, and if Amendola is not there, then we're trying to narrow down that list, so I want to throw Emmanuel Sanders on here. The big name on this list that many people are going to just beg the Eagles to go out and sign is AJ Green. Now, here's the deal with AJ Green. 31 years old, missed the entire 2019 season with a really bad ankle injury, is healthy, is running, will be good to go, and is a free agent. The question is, do you want to get a guy who's been injury prone the past couple of years? He's an absolutely fantastic wide receiver. Last year, 2018, 46 catches, 6 touchdowns, 694 yards, only played in 9 games. So you scale that out, and he could have had 10 touchdowns and over 1,000 yards very easily. The Bengals have made it clear they really want to re-sign him as early as Zach Taylor, their head coach at the Senior Bowl a couple days ago, said he's a priority to sign this offseason. But AJ Green has come out and said he's not going to play underneath the franchise tag, which means he wants at least 2 or 3 years. And if the Bengals go, we're going to put some young guys around, future number 1 overall pick Joe Burrow, they might let AJ Green walk as he is a free agent. Well, they're going to let him walk, but they might not re-sign him or franchise tag him because he does not want to play under a 1-year deal. So AJ Green could be a very similar situation to what we did with Alshon Jeffery when Chicago let him walk. You sign him for a decent deal, give him 3 or 4 years, he comes on and plays really, really well. The problem with Alshon is staying healthy, and he just has not been that productive, at least the past 2 seasons towards the end. He was okay with Nick Foles, but overall, the first 2 years, the Super Bowl year was fantastic. The last 2 for Alshon have not really been that great. There is a name that no one, a lot of people are talking about, but it did not make my list. The honorable mention for this list is Amari Cooper from the Dallas Cowboys. He's the best free agent wide receiver prospect that will be available coming forward after March during the 2020 offseason. The problem is he's most likely going to re-sign and be a Dallas Cowboy. I see a very slim chance the Cowboys are unable to re-sign Amari Cooper. Now, they have other people to sign. Remember, Dak Prescott is sitting there wanting $40 million a year, and the franchise tag is going to at least get him to $32, $33 million a year. They have about $86 million in cap space, Dallas does, so if they give all their money to Dak, then they might not sign Amari Cooper, but I think the more likely here is that they go ahead and re-sign Amari Cooper and make him the highest paid wide receiver on that Cowboys roster. If he is somehow a free agent, then the Eagles have got to take a look, because remember, you have enough money to go out and sign him. He would be incredible with Carson Wentz, because he's been incredible with Dak Prescott, played through injuries, been a tough guy, a quiet wide receiver in a day when they're loud. Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham's chirping all the time. I'm not going to include him on the list just because I don't think he's going to actually make it to free agency. All these other guys, Robbie Anderson, Danny Amendola, Rashad Perryman, Emmanuel Sanders, AJ Green, most likely will at least test the free agent market. Cooper's probably going to be re-signed sooner rather than later. All the rest of these guys, I would argue, are going to at least test the free agent market, which means the Eagles will have their fair shot at signing them. And here's the deal. I'll finish with this. The Eagles are a very, very intriguing offense, quarterback, head coach, city, owner, stadium for a wide receiver to go play. And when you have a quarterback like Carson Wentz, you can say, listen, Carson Wentz is our guy. We have a running back in Miles Sanders. All we need is you, insert wide receiver name, and you can take us that next step. The idea of coming and joining Philadelphia and being the next great Eagle wide receiver, I think is going to have a lot of effect on a lot of these guys, and I would not be surprised if they at least get one of them. If I have to pick a target, have to pick a name, it's going to be Robbie Anderson. That's the one that I'm really intrigued by. I would like AJ Green as well, but I think he might be a little out of our price range. Robbie Anderson is going to be right in that sweet spot. He has the age, he has the size, he has the speed, he has all the abilities that we need. If you had to make me choose one wide receiver here, it would have to be Robbie Anderson. There you go. There's our top 5 most likely wide receiver candidates the Eagles can sign in free agency. If you like the video, thumbs up, also subscribe, and leave a comment who you think out of this list the Eagles should sign to be their next great wide receiver in 2020. Let me know in the comment section down below. Big thanks for the new graphics. Mac Johnston doing the new graphics. They are absolutely fantastic. Hope you enjoyed those. And also, as we said at the beginning, like to support the Eagles Report here on Patreon. Click the link in the description. Maybe donate, $5 a month. Sign up for the different tiers. There's a lot of great benefits for you guys to help out, and also I help you out by doing a lot of cool stuff for the fans. We're trying to upgrade the mic. I'd greatly appreciate you guys want to go ahead and donate to my Patreon. Click the link in the description. All right, all the time we have for today for the Eagles Report. I'm Thomas Mott, signing off. Did you like that video? Thanks for watching, but why don't you click this video right here, because we did it just a couple of days ago, and guess what? It's about the Eagles too. Like that video? Why don't you subscribe right down here? That way you're notified whenever we release more videos here on the Eagles Report. It's the fastest growing Eagles channel here on YouTube. Video, subscribe, click them right now. Go ahead, click them.